understand a lot of lawyers, they are not very good at number. A lot of lawyers are not very good at number. Tax law is not only about number. Of course, number is important because tax issue is you come from accounting standard. Financial education. I think that is a basic foundation you must have. Just also if they want to involve in commercial corporate work, this is quite important. Yeah. A tax practitioner initially. I trained as a chartered accountant. And after that, as a chartered financial analyst, and then come to this position as a tax lawyer. I have my own firm specialized in tax law and also commercial. Also, we had done some litigation in commercial and corporate work also. And in terms of academics, I have a number of academic qualification. Recently, I got my LLM in law with distinction from London University. I have my MBA also, and I also have PhD in tax law.
So it seems you've had quite a journey when it comes to your academic background as well as your career path, spanning from accounting to wealth management to law. So what motivated your transitions between each industry, and how has each role shaped your career thus far?
Yeah, initially I was trained as a chartered accountant, and chartered accountant is something like you need to learn about a lot of financial forensic skills, and then I would say it's hard analytical skills. Me a lot in terms of tax, commercial litigations, because you need to know about so-called financial. I mean, financial statement. You need to read how to read financial statement is very quite important, especially in the insolvency commercial case. You want to assess damages. These are very important issues. A lot of litigation, they are not really familiar. Either they work with the accountants or other financial professional. Of course, in terms of private wealth management is quite different kind of ball game. You need to be more familiar with your client. Soft skills is very important. Okay, you need to learn how to build a relations with your client and how to get information from them, because Asia, they don't like to disclose a lot of financial information, but you must learn to ask the right question, get the right information before you can help them to plan their estate planning or their tax planning. What you must also concern about their concern, their interest, not just about legal position. Okay, this is quite important. So, I mean, as a lawyer, I believe this skill is so important because you are not only learn how to analyze, you must also learn how to get information from your client. Especially the evidence part. You must learn how to master the facts. You might get the right evidence from your client. So to support your facts, just to support your case theory. Otherwise, you cannot get the information, then you go change your case theory.
So for students who are interested in entering the tax law field, what classes in university do you recommend for them to take?
Of course, you see, lawyers, I myself trained as a chartered accountant before I come to a legal profession. And I understand a lot of lawyers, they are not very good at number. A lot of lawyers are not very good at number. Tax law is not only about number. Of course, number is important because tax issue is you come from accounting standard. You must understand the accounting, especially the corporate side. You need to understand how the accounting standard affect the tax law and how the tax law affect the accounting standard. So first thing, financial education. I think that is a basic foundation you must have. Just also if they want to involve in commercial corporate work, this is quite important. Yeah, to understand about financial. And then of course, after that, they want to go one step further. They want to specialize in tax law. Definitely, they must take, tax law. I mean, there is no way you can actually avoid, taking tax law and become a tax lawyer. So in terms of tax law, there are several areas that you can focus on: corporate tax, international tax, indirect tax. There are a lot of areas of taxation. Even tax lawyer, difficult for them to good at three. Usually they will specialize in one. Then you may choose which one you think is more suitable to you. Yeah. Also, you must understand other area of law also, because tax law is a multi-disciplinary subject. You must understand contract law. I mean, this is very fundamental contract because sometimes it involves some interpretation of contract, whether that transaction fall under the tax law or tax whether is taxable or not. So you must understand the contract, how they structure it. how to read the contract, also quite important. Trust law, all this, related, related areas.
And how often do tax-related disputes or cases go into arbitration? And what are the key differences compared to litigation when handling tax disputes?
At the moment, tax law don't recognize arbitration. In majority of the country, they don't really have an arbitration in tax law. They propose to introduce, but mediation is quite common. Negotiation, I think this is all quite common. This coming so-called new, in terms of reform in tax, international tax, they're starting to have a look into very details on the tax, international tax arbitration. Because international tax involves two countries, not only one country. So they need to actually be impartial. Because it's difficult to choose, there's no international tax court. So international tax, you got to be appoint arbitration, arbitral tribunal to actually help. So this is what they make a proposal now. There are a lot of countries start to implement. They actually have different model there rather than the full swing come out arbitration, and then because tax issue involves some sovereignty issue. The country, they don't want to give up their right to tax, you see, to other countries. So they must be somewhere in between. So they come up with different model. Okay, so litigation is quite common, but of course, mediation also is coming up. Most of the people use negotiation before the Indian revenue. And I talk to them if they cannot accept the issue. Then they do have a dispute resolution department in our country. In our country, they do have a dispute resolution department in the tax department. So you can actually have a different team, meaning different tax team, tax officer look at this issue and then become a so-called mediator. So you need to go there and then talk to them how our view is actually position, legal positions better. Litigation sometimes is very long and then very costly. May not be beneficial to certain small cases. Like small cases, amount involved maybe 10,000, 20,000 is not so much. I would say a lot of lawyers, they don't want to involve in mediation because not much money they can earn. I don't know. Maybe this is about conflict of interest. They look at it, you go for litigation, I don't care whether you win or lose, I still get my fee. But I look at it differently. I was trained in Harvard Law School on advanced mediation. So I understand not about litigation. Sometimes ADR, like mediations, negotiation is quite important, especially to resolve the issue more quickly and then less costly.
And in your opinion, what is the most challenging aspect of working in the tax law field?
You see, tax law, like I said to you, is multidisciplinary. You need to understand different aspects, especially the financial side. Our country, not many tax lawyers. I would say maybe good tax lawyer, maybe about 10 to 20% in our country. But our country got about 30 million people. But why our country don't have sufficient tax lawyers is because there are a lot of tax issues resolved by accountant. But accountants don't go for litigation. They just go for negotiate with them, negotiate with the Indian revenue. If they cannot resolve the issue, then they will look for a lawyer. So if they look for a lawyer, they must look for a tax lawyer. If they look for normal lawyer, it's difficult for them to take up the case. So in our circle, it's very small, very few tax lawyers. So the challenging part as a tax lawyer is you need to not only study about law, tax law, and also you need to understand about tax policy. You read the section, the provision. It's not so simple like the tax law principle is that if there's any ambiguity, it's interpret against the revenue. This is a general principle. So you will find the ambiguity and then some kind of loophole. So these are the difficult part we always find. And then, of course, you can look for a case precedents and understand about the existing tax issue. Okay, if it's a novel tax issue, then that could be quite difficult. You must resort to all the legal interpretation, general principle of legal interpretation still apply to tax law and any other laws. Okay, and then you must understand the tax policy, history of the legislation. This become a very challenging part. Of course, in other area of law, you also doing the same thing. If there's a novel issue, then you must actually go in to understand more about the history, and then to understand the objective behind the policy, and then whether that is applicable to your client situation. At the time I was trained as a chartered accountant, my language skill is not so good, and I think communication skill is very important because tax law is such a complicated subject. Like I told you, so you need to understand, and then after that you need to go out. As a layperson, how do you communicate your idea to the layperson in the layman terms? You know, in our country, not many judges are trained in tax law. No, I don't know about your country. We do have a specialized court, tax court, but they are not really trained in tax law. They have experience in deciding tax, but they are not really trained like, wow, they are specialized LLM in tax law or certain PhD in tax law. No, they are also, maybe they are accountants, but they are not really specialized in tax law. So there's a difficulty. Sometimes we got to explain to them in a simple way, especially complicated tax cases involve a lot of different legal issue. I think this is very important, how to simplify the complicated idea and communicate to the layperson. And moot court, I think this is also quite important. We don't think about complication because it's important you use plain legal English. Don't use this kind of old English that people cannot understand you, then you fail. Definitely.
You mentioned moot competitions, so do you believe that there are any benefits for competing in moot competitions when it comes to actually working in the tax law field?
I think it's quite important because when you prepare a case, you need to not only master the facts, you also need to master the law. But after you master the facts and the law, you need to know what's the evidence against your client and also in favor of your client. Then you need to consult your legal argument. Legal argument is quite difficult because a lot of students study law. After finish studying law, it seems to be difficult for them to consult legal argument. I don't know why. Maybe they don't really master the facts of the case because in law school, they already give you a facts. They design a question, they already give you a facts. So you didn't really think about how this fact come about and then how to get those kind of evidence. This has become a very practical issue. In our practice, it's always difficult for us to get certain kind of information and then certain kind of evidence to support your legal theory, so-called. It's always difficult. You must always learn how to master this in practice. So moot court is important because after you get all this done, of course, you must anticipate the other party will attack your case theory. So the judges will also ask you question. Sometimes you cannot anticipate. You need to immediately respond to them. So it's important to have a moot court so that somebody can attack you. So you know, where it come from, the question. Sometimes you don't know. You think you have solid argument, but sometimes somewhere they come and attack your argument, and then you see, this is a hole, and then how are I going to fill up the hole? Small company, sometimes we have trouble of getting people who are good enough to attack us, you see. So this is our difficulty, our challenge. We do have a so-called tax committee in Bar Council, so we talk to each other because there's, like I would say, it's very small. Our circle is very small.
In your experience, how have you dealt with difficult questions from judges, and what advice would you give to young mooters when it comes to handling these same questions?
Preparation. The important is prepare yourself and then prepare in advance. Ask your colleagues and see whether they can help you. And you must learn how to express your idea in the simple way so the judge can understand you. They don't ask you so much question. And then, of course, prepare yourself and then master your facts. It's quite important. I mean, whenever judge asks you question, you must immediately respond to them. Don't wait, don't ask them to wait. Then they say they will answer to the question. Of course, their situation, they really don't understand, you clarify. And then you just say, don't know. I mean, you cannot say you know. See? You don't waste their time, you see. You waste their time, they are not happy with you, and then they might give judgment to other people, you see. So sometimes, we encounter certain one, two questions quite difficult. We just answer whatever we can, and then let the judge decide. Sometimes don't think too much about whether this one, two question affect your decision because sometimes the judge already have the decision. They just want to test you. Okay.
So talking more about law in Malaysia, could you give us an overview of what the tax law field looks like over there?
different country had different tax system. Okay, Malaysia tax system actually, of course, they have follow their so-called physical environment lah. Okay, so the tax policy come out, any incentive, they all about economics and then also they actually have follow so-called previously like it's a British model, and then now they try to change already because different environment they change. But the common law still apply to Malaysia. I mean, the case precedent is quite important to us. And then, of course, interpretation or tax statute, they are still following a general legal interpretation. So in Malaysia, if you have been access tax and you see this is wrong, incorrectly accessed, you can always make appeal. Okay, you make appeal to the Indian Revenue first, then you can actually talk to them. You are not taxable, and then why you are not taxable, and then you can engage the accountant to do initially. And then if you accountant can help you to settle, then it's settle. If not, then you got to engage a tax lawyer because accountant sometimes is not really good at presentation of tax cases. And sometimes they don't understand about case precedent. I mean, they don't really read. I mean, they read the act, but sometimes the act is not so simple. I mean, not so apparent the solution. So after you make appeal, the revenue reject your appeal, then you can apply to dispute resolution. I mean, you ask a different team to come in to look like a mediation. I mean, so you can actually ask a lawyer or ask a tax lawyer to help you, to assist you. You also can ask the accountant to help you. Dispute resolution department is not a court. So accountant still can go to. And then after that, they still reject you, then you go tax court. Tax court, usually is tax lawyer will come. So you can go to tax court. If there's any abuse of power, meaning they don't follow the case precedent and then the illegality and all this, you still can go for judicial review. Judicial review in the high court, okay? So judicial review will be faster, and then you can stay the tax assessment, meaning you don't pay the tax first. Because in Malaysia, they don't care. Once the assessment out, whether correct or not correct, you must pay. Whether you appeal or not, they don't care. But for the high court, it's different. Judicial review, if there's an abuse of authority and illegality, all this breach of natural justice, then you can go to judicial review. Not like any other public law, they couldn't go to the judicial review. Then you can stay the tax payment, tax assessment until the court make the decision before you actually make payment. Because sometimes payment could be quite substantial. A few million, a person can actually go bankrupt. A company can actually wind up because of the tax payment, especially business, they need cash flow. So these are the procedure involved in tax litigation. And then after that, you lose a case, then you can go up. Even revenue lose a case, they can go to high court and then they can go to court appeal. Two tails. We have two tails. If the case start from judicial review in high court, they can go the way up to federal court. This is our final court. These are the tax so-called procedure and litigation in Malaysia.
And for law students who are not from Malaysia, are there any difficulties when it comes to entering the tax law field in Malaysia?
Yeah, of course. And in the first place, you want to come to Malaysia to practice law. Tax law is like any other law. You must become a lawyer in Malaysia. I don't think it's simple because I don't think it's open. You can be a foreign practitioner, but you must join with the other firm, local firm. Because in Malaysia, you must be a citizen before you can become a lawyer. So even US, I think New York and California, they open to any other citizen to become a lawyer. Other states, I don't know. I don't know about other states. So far, I know these two. You want to involve in tax, first thing, you can only advise on the foreign tax. International tax is okay. But local tax, you can't. Unless you become a chartered accountant, it's different. You can become a chartered accountant in Malaysia and then advise on tax law. But you don't go to court. I mean, yeah, there's two ways to get involved in tax law.
And for students who would like to get more practical experience to add onto their resume, what would you recommend for them to do? For example, is it to join more competitions in university or to get internships?
I think both is important. Academic qualification, of course, is all depend on which university you come from. You're looking at employer perspective. They'll look at which university you are graduated from, and then they want to look at your top tier or second tier. or other tales. So of course this is the first impression, first impression. Okay. Other than that, we must get relevant experience. Of course, the relevant experience is what we want. Sometimes tax, like any other law, in law school is quite different thing. You are learning about thinking. It's not about doing. Thinking is quite different from doing. When you do work and you understand, oh, so you must get the evidence, must get the facts right. You must build a relationship with your client and then gain the trust and then you get the information you want. And then you direct them, you guide them to give you certain kind of sometimes weaknesses. You need to cross-examine the weaknesses. So you must prepare them as a weakness and then tell them how the people will ask you question, then how you're going to respond. Of course, not coaching them. I mean, coaching is illegal. I mean, in Malaysia, of course, you must let them understand the whole case. Sometimes they don't understand. They're even forgetful. You see, so I think both sides is very important. But the academic side is first impression. Good law school actually help you a lot. Like you have moot court and then you have a practitioner who actually come forward to give you some idea, opinion, and then this are the, I mean, facility they must have like then train you to be an independent thinker. This is quite important. I mean, law school, a lot of things talk about law school need to reform. I believe yes, sometimes it's very different from practice lah. So practice and theory are both important, especially in legal. Yeah, I mean, learning legal writing is also quite important. Our side also we can do Malay and English also. But most of the document written is in Malay. But written submission, all this, you can do it in English. Depend on judges lah. Sometimes, so usually tax is okay. They accept English. High court and above, usually our judges are all trained in UK. Mostly trained in UK, Australia. So they want this to be in English usually. So it's quite okay for us. But for the former pleadings, all these things, usually you go for Malay. It's quite difficult. Sometimes you must change your mind. I mean, of course, now a lot of you can do a translation, but you must be careful. Sometimes the word used it could be different meaning in different languages.
Being a tax lawyer can seem like a very demanding job. So, how do you manage a work-life balance in this field?
I think it's quite important because work-life balance. People always talk about work-life balance. Certain time you may have not the balance. I mean, you must understand pressure come, and then everything got deadline. I mean, appeal have deadline, and then you need to make a submission got deadline. All these things got deadline. In certain time you might not have a balance, but I think exercise is important. Maintain a good sleep, and then it's quite important. Regular exercise, eat properly is very important. I think majority people don't eat properly because when they feel pressure, they want to eat certain kind of unhealthy food to release their pressure. I mean, once for a while, okay lah. I mean, you don't eat, I mean, unhealthy food so frequently. You must understand about nutrition. I mean, food nutrition, and then get some supplement. I mean, it's necessary so that you maintain a healthy life. Then you can walk longer, and also your journey will be longer. So you don't put your entire time and then everything give it to your client. I mean, this is not right also. A lot of lawyer is quite difficult to strike a balance. I understand. I also feel that, but we try our best. I mean, to eat properly, to regular exercise, and then sleep properly, and then you can actually cope the pressure lah. Well, I would say manage lah. I wouldn't say you totally avoid pressure. There is no such thing avoiding pressure. Even maybe it never be accountants. Accountant, they do you, but they don't go to court, you see. Sometimes they face a certain set of tax issue they cannot resolve, then they will look for you. It's very difficult to get a tax lawyer. And then also association, you need to know a lot of association, and then a lot of those leaders, they have big business, they want to know who you are, and then you must go and do a seminar and then present yourself and then let them understand who you are and then what capable you are and then what credential you have. And of course, they will naturally come to for advice. Of course, advice you need to be more diligent. I mean, to help them to assist them to resolve their issue. If you can assist them to resolve their issue, then they will refer to you. It's very simple. I mean, referral is still a very important. I mean, practice is quite important. How they should network with so-called accountant. I think sometimes lawyer don't practice in tax law. They do encounter tax issue. They need somebody to help. Okay, you can network with them.
We have one last question left for you in this interview. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice at the start of your university journey, what would that be?
I think law school, like I say, train you to be a lawyer, think like a lawyer. I think that is not really right at the moment now. To me, I would say think like a problem resolver. As a problem resolver, you think wider and then you think about your client interest, think about client concern, and then how to resolve your client problem. Come up with a practical commercial resolution. It's not something like I got to stand firm with my legal position. Sometimes, yes, even you stand firm with your legal position, you must understand about cost and the time involved in go through the whole litigation process. This is not worthwhile. Sometimes I think what client want is you help me to resolve the issue more efficiently, effectively, at the same time, less costly, and then also suit my requirement. This is what they want, you see. Don't think about only yourself. I mean, think about long term. Then the client will start to refer case to you. And then you can do more cases because litigation is very lengthy and then complicated. Like you say, very pressure because time is not in our control already. Cases is already passed to the court. The court will control everything, control your life. Sometimes you don't want that to happen also. Yeah. So become a problem resolver. How you come up with better practical solution to help your client. Practical, not a theoretical, practical resolution. And I think you not only satisfy your client, you also inner so-called satisfaction because we help our client. Not only help ourselves, we also help our client. We also need to give back to the society. I mean, not just about money. So how to manage it is quite important.